Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Very grey day today. In fact, do you know what, that's such a British thing, and you'll probably notice that in a lot of my videos I start off by talking about the weather. If you're ever in Britain, you want to start up a conversation with a Briton, then you know you can always do that with the weather. But hey, what we are here today to look at is the Sofirn SC21. This is it's a tiny little flashlight that does a lot for the price. You get a lot of bang for your buck with this. Sofirn got in touch with me after I reviewed the last Sofirn light. I'll leave a link in the description here or here, wherever that goes. Got in touch, and this is kind of the polar opposite. The other one had got the adrenal thing, all of that kind of stuff that was in there, whereas this just takes it back to a little bit more simplicity. So what I'll do is I usually do, I'll turn the camera around so we can take a closer look at this while I'm doing that. If you do enjoy this content at any point, please feel free to hit that like button and even subscribe. That would be awesome. But for now, let's take a closer look. Hi, it's the next day. I completely forgot to mention that the amazing people from Sofirn have sent us, for the Moorlander community or everybody that's watching this, a discount code. So at the moment the SC21 is 10% off. If you use the code Moorlander30, then you'll be able to get an additional 30% off, which is 40% in total from the price of the flashlight. So a massive thank you for Sofirn for sending that our way. I'm sure a lot of you will be able to use that. So cool. And now back on with the featured content. So as we usually do, we'll go around it, we'll have a look at the features and the lights and different things, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's a flashlight video. You want to see how this torch works. So measurements wise, it is 73mm by 22.5mm in diameter. Now in old money, that's roughly, it's actually just a pinch less than 3 inches. 25mm is roughly 1 inch, and this is 22.5, so it's just less than a millimeter, just less than an inch deep. It's constructed, it has an all metal body, and it's constructed from an aluminium alloy. Because it uses aluminium, it does help to reduce some of the weight. You find a lot of these flashlights use an aluminium body nowadays, because it's, you know, with new alloys it's very tough, but it manages to drop the weight down to about 65 grams, which is pretty good, and that's with the battery inside. Now as far as the battery is concerned, it's got one of these wee little batteries. Oh, let's get you out. Hopefully, if you can see there, this is a 16340 800 milliamp hour battery. It's a tiny little thing. I haven't come across one of these batteries before. This is the first torch review that I've had with one of these. It's crazy how small they are, but that fits perfectly into there. As far as the construction is concerned, there's a couple of telling things that I've found. You may all find the same, especially when it comes to quality and construction is concerned. One of those is I always check the threads, not necessarily with some sort of micrometer, but just putting the two together. So when I put these two together, the threads, there's absolutely no give in these threads, and as you start to turn it, you can feel that it's almost applying some pressure. Now part of that pressure is because there is a rubber o-ring here to make sure that no water gets into it. As far as rating is concerned, it's an IPX8, so you can submerge this up to a meter in water, and you can drop it from about 1.5 meters in height, and it will survive that drop. But the threads, as I was getting back to, so you can start to feel some positive pressure on those threads, and it's also a very buttery, smooth experience. There's no grinding, and again, there's absolutely no give in that. So the attention to detail in the machining for the thread also goes through the rest of the flashlight, with the attention to detail that's on here as well. So we've gone through the measurements. Weight wise, the battery inside does come with the flashlight. Now I'll just quickly grab the box. So the box here, it's a small wee little box. You get all of the instructions that are in there. It does come with a clip, and it is one of those kind of double-sided ones, so you can push it through that way, or you can also push it back that way, to make sure, depending on how you want to use it, you can put that on a brim or cap. What's kind of standard with a lot of these nowadays is you also get a lanyard, and they throw in some extra O-rings as well. What's not in here, which I've just realised that I forgot to put back in, is the charge cable, and it's a fairly standard charge cable. It's not particularly long, it's probably about 12, maybe 18 inches, and that charges here in the back, and they're starting to use the new USB Type-C charging ports, which just makes it a little bit more faster, a little bit more reliable as well, and plus hopefully everybody's probably seen the USB Type-C. It doesn't matter which way you put it in, it's always secure. I will say from testing, so the cable that comes with this fits perfectly into there, and it's not necessarily proprietary cable because it is still USB Type-C. However, there's a couple of cables, so I've got a couple of Anchor cables that I charge different things with, and they don't fit in, and that's just because of the overlap that they have past the outside of the charger. So when it goes in, it actually hits these sides. I don't necessarily think that it's this fault. It seems that I'd probably say 50% of the cables that I've got do fit in there. So if you do find that you have some of the wider ones, the one that comes with it will always fit in, and you just have to have a check with some of the other ones to make sure that they fit in as well. Now the rubber, hopefully you can see there when I'm pushing that in, so I'm not turning that off. It's not a chore to get in, but you have to make sure that you push it in. Again, for me, that's extra brownie points, because the seal on this is a very good seal. When you pull it off, you have to give it quite a good pull to get it off there. So I'm quietly confident that if you're worried about any sort of water or dust or anything or debris getting into here, that it does a very good job of stopping that from getting in. A couple of extra features to point out: there are some cut throughs here which help to dissipate a little bit of the heat along the body. Along the barrel here, there is some really nice knurling, which does make it a little bit easier to grip when it's in your pocket. On the end, there is a magnetic tail cap, although I suppose it's not necessarily a tail cap, mainly because it doesn't come off, but there's a magnet in there. Not the strongest of magnets, but I think it sticks, so what more could you ask for? But with a bit of a nudge on whatever it's stuck to, sometimes it will come loose reasonably easy. I'm trying to think of the right word there. It doesn't fall off when a feather brushes past it, but it has done for me while I've been testing it. And then on the end, so you can get this to sit, it's a complete right angle here, so if you want to sit it so that it's sat upright, it will certainly do that. And then on the inside here, hopefully if you can see, if I put my hand behind there, you can just see that there's a little eye. There's also another eye on that side, so that if you want to put your lanyard through there, then you can do. Now, as far as the operation is concerned, it's all done through this one single button here at the front, and this is a click for on, click for off. Now, depending on what you're used to, I know that there's a lot of people out there that are more than happy with a click on and click, so you can see that, click on and click for off. Personally, I do prefer a double click for on, mainly because there's been a few times that this has been in my pocket and my daughters have been laughing at me going, your pocket's shining at us again, Dad, because I've just not realised that it's been turned on. It has happened quite a few times. The button itself is slightly raised. I think if I was to change anything about this, would just be so that it's slightly more recessed. I don't know how that would work with the engineering of it, or if that could be changed somehow for future iterations. But I think mainly that's the reason, because it is just slightly above or protruding from the barrel. I mean, that's just a pure guess. It might be that, you know, it wasn't that. It was because something was pushed against it, and that's why it turned on. But I do know that it has turned on a few times whilst it's been in my pocket. Hopefully, if I put my hands on that, hopefully you'll notice that there is a light on the button. Now that light does a couple of things. So when you've got it in and it's charging, that will tell you whether it is still charging or whether it's fully charged. When it's charging, the light on the inside here is red. When it's completely charged, that then changes to green. When you're using it, when it's fully charged, you can see at the moment it's on green. I'm just trying to remember the number. I think it's 70%. So if you're between 100 and 70%, then it will stay completely green like this. When you're on 69 down to 15%, it will stay a constant red, and when you're less than 15%, then it will flash at a red, so that you know that you need to charge it. But getting back to the actual features themselves, so on, off, nice and simple. There are some double clicks, there are some long presses with this, but these just get to other functions. There is a moonlight mode, a low, medium, high, and I suppose your kind of your turbo mode. A lot of people refer to them as turbo modes nowadays. So if you want to put it into the moonlight mode, which is 1 lumen, what you do for that then is just hold down the on button for a few seconds, and hopefully you'll see there that it's turned on. Now that is 1 lumen and gives roughly 85 hours worth of light. I do tend to use, and I've said this quite a few times, I do tend to use 1 lumen more than I use anything else, mainly because it's always when I'm trying to find something in the house and trying not to disturb my wife or the kids, or, you know, someone's took something to their bedroom and I'm trying to find it. So 1 lumen does get used a lot more than I find with some of the other light modes. But you turn that off. It doesn't remember, sorry, there is memory in this, but it doesn't remember to put it back into moonlight mode, and that's mainly because moonlight mode just isn't used as much, I guess, with other users. But here you can see the other modes. So this is where you get to your typical on, and this lowest, or at least the low mode, is 10 lumens, and you'll get roughly 18 hours from this. This is, I mean, it's great again whilst you're inside. When you're outside, you can see a good 5 or 6 meters in front of you. Again, it's great if you need to nip out to the car and grab something, but you know, you don't want to show people that you're there. To then get through the different levels of light inside the main kind of mode, it's then a hold down for a few seconds, and you'll see that it jumps up. So this has now jumped up to 100 lumens. So from 10 to 100 lumens, this will give you roughly 4 hours worth of light. Again, great for indoors, but when you're outside, this gives you a little bit more of a spread. There is, hopefully if you can see, you know, there is a little bit of a hot spot in the middle, but the reflector on the inside has got a very subtle orange peel texture to it, so it does help to diffuse that light a little bit more. Then hold it down for a few more seconds. That then bumps it up to 400 lumens. From 400 lumens you'll get roughly an hour and a half from a full battery, and then hold it again and it will then cycle back down to 10 lumens. Now there is another option for this. So at the moment, you as you've seen here, you go through low, medium and high by holding it down for a few seconds. I think it's 2 seconds. But what you can do whilst you have it turned on, if you do 4 clicks really quickly, see, it gives you a little bit of a flash. Now by holding the light down, you'll see that it takes it from more of a stepped way of going up and down, and it takes it through more of a sliding scale. So there's a lot of different steps that you can go through from its highest to its lowest. When it gets to its highest here, keep my finger back on it again, and you'll be able to see that it goes back down again. If you want to put it back, then back into its stepped version, 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll see that it flashes again. And if I hold my finger down on this and again, you'll see that it does step ups rather than a sliding scale for the light that comes out of it. The last main light version from here is then your 1000 lumens, which is the turbo mode that you can get to pretty much from anywhere. So whether it's off, whether I'm in moonlight mode, whether I'm in I suppose the normal mode, you can get to it from any point by double clicking on 2, and there you'll be able to see you've got your 1000 lumens. Now the 1000 lumens on here will run for roughly an hour of battery. I mean, you know, it's quite a lot of light coming from such a small battery in there. Now, as you can expect, there are some other features on here. The first one that I probably will show you addresses the issue that I had, that, you know, it was turning on in my pocket. So when it's turned off, 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll see it'll flash, and that's now locked it. So if I try to turn it on, it just does this normal, it's this little flash. It really won't do anything. The only other thing that it will do that you can use is you can still use the moonlight mode by holding your finger down on it, and it actually comes on a little bit faster, but as soon as you take your finger off, the light then turns off. It won't allow it to stay on any longer until you do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can see, you know, we're back on. There are some strobes. What you have is you have a strobe, you have an SOS, and you have a beacon, and you can get to those with 3 clicks. So 1, 2, 3, and here is your strobe. Now your strobe uses 1000 lumens, and it has this different effects. So hopefully what you'll see there is that there are different wavelengths in the way in which that it flashes. To then get to the next, or at least the next function, you keep your finger down on it for a few seconds. Oh, sorry, what was this? And you'll see that it's now in SOS mode. Now, because SOS, really, you want to make sure that you've got as much light for as long as possible. Rather than being 1000 lumens that it uses for the strobe, it uses 120 lumens for the SOS. If you want to then get onto beacon, oh, sorry. There you can see you have this beacon, which is just a continuous pulse of light, which again uses that 1000 lumens. If at any point you want to stop this, you know, you click it and it'll turn it off. When it's on, which is I suppose it's not really a strange feature, but you know, when it's on, if you're in turbo, and at least you've got to turbo from it being on, so I'll click it once, that turns it on. Click it again, double click, sorry, that then puts it into turbo. When you single press it, it takes it out of turbo and puts it back to the normal mode, and then you can press it again to turn it off. Or you can long press it, and then that will turn it off as well. Actually, sorry, I'll double press that then, but that put it down into the moonlight mode. So there's, I think, for what really you would class as a budget flashlight, there's a lot of features and a lot of functions that you can get just from this very small model. And for EDC especially, it's certainly a great light to have in your pocket. Do you know, I feel like I'm always constantly surprised by these more budget friendly flashlights, and I think that mainly comes down to the fact that they're budget friendly flashlights. You know, there was a time where, you know, so one thing my grandpapa always used to say was, you know, you pay, or at least you get what you pay for, and I think that is right in so many ways. You know, generally when you're paying for something that's a little bit more expensive, generally, you know, you tend to get a better item. But I think there's quite a few items here in the EDC community or kind of environment that are kind of bucking that trend, where you can pay a little bit less to get something that's actually got quite a few more features than some other flashlights that you'd spend 2, maybe 3 times the amount of price. And then that gets me thinking about another thing. So I was talking to someone here a few weeks back about EDC and, you know, the value of things that we carry, whether that's an intrinsic value or whether that's kind of a value in how valued that is to yourself. I suppose I'm getting a little bit deeper into the rabbit hole on that one, but essentially a lot of it comes down to, if you lose something, if you have a £90 flashlight just like this and you lose it, you get more, it's more of a kick in the nuts, or kick in the ovaries, so, you know, we like to keep it inclusive, and when you can get so much from this and it's at that cheaper price, and cheap's a bad word because cheap makes it feel inferior, but I suppose it's a more wallet friendly price, you know, I feel that the value of these then increases. Hopefully that one made sense, and I was probably just waffling there, but hopefully that makes sense on why I think, you know, there's great value in these more wallet friendly flashlights. Sofirn, Lumen tops are all making some really good products at the moment, and if there's a bit of snobbery and you don't want to check those out, then do you know what, you're kind of losing out on that, because yeah, there's some good stuff there. So I'll stop waffling for now. What I'll do is I'll leave all of the links for this in the description below. Some of those may be affiliate links. You know, if you choose to use those, it's to no extra value to yourself. It just gives me a small kickback to the channel so that I can continue to make this sort of content. As far as this sort of content goes, this was sent to me from Sofirn, so, you know, full disclosure, I haven't had to purchase this item. However, I have the same conversation with all manufacturers when they send it to me, that I will give my 100% frank and honest opinion or descriptions about these items. So yeah, there's no sort of bias there, so to speak. Hopefully you'll pick up from a lot of my reviews and a lot of my content that I'm not that kind of guy, but hey. So all of those links will be in the description below. I'll leave the links to Sofirn. It would be rude of me not to say thank you to Sofirn for sending this my way. I really appreciate it, and I've quite enjoyed the relationship that we built, and, you know, feel free to send me some more stuff to test out so we can make some more content together. There'll be some of my social media links in the description below, as every single YouTuber does when they get to the end of the video. You know, if you have enjoyed this content, please feel free to hit that like button. That would be amazing. If you want to show me support for future content, hit that subscribe button and share, which apparently really helps with the YouTube algorithm. So if you share my content, even just share it to yourself from WhatsApp, it still works. That helps. But hey, for now, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC.